Subbasement to your ears. This is the weekly meeting of the Queen City Improvement Bureau. Each week, the dedicated staff of the Bureau meet to file reports, make recommendations, and survive on water that drips from the boiler pipes into their open mouths as they sleep on beds of dot matrix printer paper. Maybe one day they'll escape from the subterranean hell that is this subbasement, but until that day comes, the city is not going to improve itself. So here we stay, improving things. This meeting is now in session.
Hey, who are you?
I'm a typical 19-year-old girl. I wandered down here.
What?
I got bored and I just came
That's
back.
not possible. The only typical girl we've ever on here was a typical 9-year-old girl. That's not you, right?
It is, yeah.
There is no way we've been doing this long enough for a typical 9-year-old girl to become a typical 18-year-old girl.
I know time doesn't work right in the subbasement and your calendar is like many, many years out of date, but it has been 9
What, it's
years.
not 1979 still?
No, it is not.
Dang.
Yeah.
People still wearing handlebar mustaches? Driving Camaros?
I don't know those words.
Apparently you don't know dot matrix either.
Yeah, no. I just found these notes, and yeah, that's a new word.
Oh, really? Cool. Well, if you could, before we can start a meeting, since you've never been to one before,
Yes.
we have to do attendance first, or else nothing can actually happen.
Yes, I
Do
see
you
it
have
here.
some notes there?
Yes. Adele Panush.
Who?
Adele Panush.
No, there's
No?
nobody here.
Okay.
Who is it?
He's a crooning cowboy. Adele roams the frontiers of Saskatchewan, singing songs and fighting for justice with a guitar in one hand and a six-shooter in the other. He became famous for his song Whiskey and Horses and Why Don't You Love Me?
No, I think somebody would be claiming that if they were here right now.
Maybe?
Oh, you know what happens? The guy who usually does attendance, sometimes he mixes up the letters in the name. Check to see if maybe if you read, is there a P in there?
Yeah.
An A?
Yeah.
A U?
Yeah.
An L?
Yeah.
Would the rest of the letters be D, E, C, H, E, and E?
Yes, they are.
Then that would be me, Paul Deshane.
All right.
I'm present.
Awesome.
Okay, who else is on the list?
Donna Margina.
Huh?
She is the great-great-great-great-great-great-granddaughter of the Countess Massima Margina, who invented margins. Before Countess Margina, people would just keep writing right off the page sometimes until she said, "What if we left a little gap all the way around the page? Doesn't that look nice?"
No, well, I don't think they're here.
I don't know what to tell you. That's
Maybe the letters again? Is there an A?
maybe, yeah.
I-D-A-N?
Yeah.
I think it might be Aidan Morgan.
I think you need a new person to write up your attendance sheet.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, if Aidan doesn't come back, we might have a job open.
Oh, yeah. I might need a job.
Okay. Well, is there anybody else on the list?
Yes, there is Sharrod Claerge, your former intern.
Sharrod?
Hey, guys.
You're back.
I'm back.
That's awesome. I sent you away, what, like, it can't be more than 2 years ago to get me a coffee?
Oh, it was a long time ago.
No, it wasn't.
I failed miserably at that task and then got bored and found something else to do. So,
No. You got a better gig than this?
well, frankly, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. That wouldn't happen to be that you were the Prairie Naturalist?
Well, I was that guy for what, like 3 years? But again, that was a long time ago.
No, it couldn't be that long ago.
How long is it?
Like a few weeks, months. I don't know, man.
I think it's like 3 years ago.
Yeah, okay.
4 years ago?
Okay, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's so good to be back.
It is great to have you
I mean,
back.
it still like stinks down here, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to see you, Paul, and we've never met, I don't think, before, but 19, I heard you say 19 and he said 18?
Yeah.
One of those is
Okay,
right.
18, hi.
I think 18.
I'm Jared.
Hi, I'm a typical 18-year-old girl.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Sharrod Clarke, it is so good to have you back. I'm actually glad that our messages reached you and you returned.
The carrier pigeon found me.
Yeah. Because, we are here today. We are one of the last shows that's promoting the big fundraiser for CJTR for Salthaven West. And as anybody who knows me can attest, I don't really go outdoors. And I don't much like the outdoors. So I can't really speak with any passion or interest in Salthaven West. But we've heard that you can. We're trying to raise $20,000 for Salthaven West, and I've heard that we're getting close to that. So if you donate through the CJTR.ca website to Salthaven West, those funds will be matched until the end of today. But I don't even know what this is. Can you fill us in?
Oh, Salthaven West is an amazing organization right here in the Queen City. So, as you know, conservation, I'm a biologist from way back, and conservation has been something that's been really important to me. And so over probably a decade ago, I met Megan Lawrence. And Megan is I believe she's the executive director of Salthaven West. I don't know if that's her official title, but she's the one who founded it and has worked to rehabilitate injured and orphaned wildlife.
Wow.
And so I started working with Megan, just as a volunteer to help her mainly identify the birds that would be submitted by people. So if you find a bird that's hit your window and it's still alive, you can phone Salthaven West, and they'll take it usually to a vet, and we'll be able to give it meds and hopefully rehab it and then release it. If a wildlife gets hit by a car, or your cat catches it, or anything like that, you can call Salthaven West, bring it into them, and they will work to keep wildlife wild. So
really,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Super noble. And this is something that Megan did just as after hours outside of her job, and so she work a regular full-time job and then come home and take care of all of these injured
rescue Bambi.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so they've grown and grown over the last 10 years. I don't know. I feel like it's more than 10 years. I wish I had found that answer out before we got on the air here. But I go in there sometimes. I sometimes ban the birds that they're releasing.
Yeah.
And so then if the birds are ever found again, they can know hey, we released this bird and it survived and made it down to Texas or whatever. But so I go in there and they'll have 150 animals.
Seriously?
That they have at one time. And usually there's a peak season. Peak season is kind of baby bird summer season when lots of baby animals are out. Yeah. And so they'll have squirrels, and they'll have injured geese, and they'll have baby robins, and right now they have a bald eagle that they've been nursing back to health. And
that was found here in town, or
they get wildlife from all across southern Saskatchewan.
Wow.
Depends on kind of the state of the animal, or whether the thing, if you call a conservation officer, they're well connected to Salthaven. And so yeah, they're looking at releasing this bald eagle on the weekend. So I'm going to go over there, I think tomorrow, and band it before it gets released. And so really neat organization, and really the only organization in Regina doing this work. Yeah. So worth the donation for sure.
Cool. I want to know more about this bald eagle. Have you ever Have you ever banded? I was thinking about Aiden. Have you ever banded a fierce predator like a bald eagle before? And
I have never banded a bald eagle before. I have banded a golden eagle before,
really?
A nestling golden eagle.
Okay.
It was still very big, but it couldn't fly. But I've banded lots of great horned owls, and okay. I have photos of big wounds on my back from the talons of the adults as you go up the nest. We used to, we'd wear helmets with visors and stuff, so you don't lose your eyes, because the adults will, as you're climbing the tree, because we generally are banding the babies in a nest. Yeah. For that project, and as you're going up the tree to the nest, some adults are super aggressive and will actually strike you. And people banders without proper protective gear, especially working with raptors, I've like lost eyeballs before.
Jeez.
So it's not something to just like mess around. And even like if you're banding like adult great horned owls or bald eagles, like it's a 2-person job for to band a bald or golden eagle. One person to hold it, and the other person to band it. But if like they grab you with their talons, like they're going to do serious damage to like your hand or your arm or whatever. Yeah.
So this could be the last time we ever see you.
It could be. I live on the edge every day, you know?
There's something like very symbolic, I feel, about you going out to like help rescue and band an American bald eagle at this point of time in like sort of like contemporary history.
Is it the right image, or should it be like nursing the Canada goose back to like?
I'm sure you'll do plenty of that.
There's that too, right?
Yeah. But no, I feel like, this is a demonstration of your sort of Canadian compassion. No matter what they're willing to do to you, they may take your eyeball, but you're still willing to rehabilitate them and send them out into the wild to take more eyeballs.
I guess.
Yeah.
I've never really thought about it as eloquently as you just put it.
Sorry. Thanks. And also, so you'll like go up into trees to band baby owlets.
So I'm going to be honest, Paul.
Okay.
That was the younger me.
Sure.
Before I had children and responsibilities.
Yeah.
So I actually don't band a lot of nestling raptors anymore. One of the guys that's on my permit, a sub-permittee of mine, Randy McCullough, he still does, and he's out in the area that we used to do a lot of the great horned owls and Swainson's hawks and Ferruginous hawks in Herbert Morse. He's still doing that, and I'm hoping to go band some Ferruginous hawks with him this summer.
Yeah.
But I haven't. If I'm being honest, I've been banding like small birds lately, like purple martins and ruby-throated hummingbirds and
oh my gosh,
yellow warblers and things like that.
They're not going to take an eye.
Well, they got you don't mess with them.
With a warbler?
Well, I was thinking like a hummingbird.
Yeah.
Like the long little pointy bill. Like they maybe can't take your eye, but they could impale your eyeball with that little bill.
And then you'd be stuck with a hummingbird for a while.
In your eye. And you're like, do I pull it out or do I leave it in there till I get to the doctor? I don't know.
That would be embarrassing.
Or super hardcore.
Yeah.
Imagine if they got two in there, like one in each eyeball.
Yeah. And they're just buzzing in front of your face and you go to the doctor. I'm so sweet.
That's never happened to me before. I can say that. I've never heard of that happening to a hummingbird bander either. So
yeah. I just didn't know that birding was such a hardcore activity, and that makes me wonder why you couldn't get my coffee for me. I would think that'd be a much easier task than banding a raptor.
Well, I'll tell you this. I have never drank coffee.
Never, ever?
No. I don't drink coffee. So, like...
Is this like a thing?
What do you mean, like...
I don't know, like, did coffee do something to you when you were little?
And I just said, screw you, coffee. Yeah. No, I grew up in a house where my parents never drank coffee. And I tried it in my teens, like, not like actually drinking a cup or anything, but like sipping someone else's coffee. And I thought it was gross. And I have never tried it since. And I don't like the idea of being addicted or having to rely on a cup of coffee every day.
Right.
So I just walk around in just like a sad fog, tired fog all the time instead.
How do you avoid those first like 20 to 25 minutes of work in the morning then? If you're not like going off to get your coffee and like waiting in the drive-through lineup at Tim's.
Well, I used to be a teacher, right? There was no you can wait. It's like the bell rings and the kids come in and it's like, here we go.
I've definitely been told by teachers, wait 10 minutes, I'll be right back. But that was more so when I was in like grade 12.
Lots of teachers drink coffee. So like I shouldn't say like it's a teacher thing because it's definitely not.
Yeah.
What is your go-to coffee order though? Like not coffee, but like when you go to somewhere where they do serve coffee, what do you get?
I I rarely go to coffee shops, but if I do, I will get a London Fog. But my go-to drink, which has some caffeine in it, probably lots of caffeine, I just don't know, is
Monster?
Oh, God, no. No, I don't drink energy drinks either. How did this become about what I drink? But Pure Leaf iced tea. Raspberry Pure Leaf iced tea.
Oh, yeah,
is
okay.
That's good.
If I need a little bit of a pick-me-up, I will get one of those.
Nice.
We should talk about, like, Salthaven West some more.
Yeah, hang on.
Okay.
I have to do my thing.
All right, sorry.
We're on 91.3 FM, CJTR, Regina Community Radio. Sorry. AccessNow Community Radio in Regina. We're the Queen City Improvement Bureau. I'm here with typical 18-year-old girl and Sharrod Claerge, the Prairie Naturalist. And we're talking about Salthaven West. So, what you said that they have like 150 animals at times at this facility. What is the facility? Where is it? And what does it look like?
So you're going to be surprised. It's just a house.
Okay. Really?
in a residential neighborhood.
Like what neighborhood? Can we I don't want to out them just in case.
I don't know. Don't they have their?
I don't know. There was like a piece of paper here
off,
that I dropped it.
I don't actually know what their address is, but it's by Tom Collegiate up in Argyle Park.
Okay.
And it's just a house.
So is this like a Dr. Dolittle situation? You go in there and is it Megan who's like
Megan lives on the top?
Yeah,
I think. I don't know. And then the animals are outside and in the facility, and it's all inspected. They're permitted, so like it's all legit.
Yeah.
It's not like some. They're very good and very professional about caring for these animals. But because like you want to kind of restrain the animals in fairly small spaces while they're being rehabilitated so that they can't injure themselves more.
Right. And so they really want to get back to the wild.
Yeah. And so like
if it's too cushy in the house, they'll want to stay.
But they keep them in like crates and things, and they've got like a lot of crates and aquariums and these kind of they're almost like, I don't know, little cubes that are made of mesh, so like little baby birds are in there, and so like if they flap against them, they don't like wreck their feathers. And so like they work, again, like I said, closely with veterinarians to make sure they're doing everything like above board, and like they've got a crew, a number of paid staff, and then a number of volunteers too who work around the clock. Like you think about like in baby bird season, which is like some of their busiest times, because like
that'd be like now.
Pretty soon, we're right on the cusp of spring migration coming back, so not quite, but very soon. They'll get submissions of like the mom got killed or hit the window, so they people bring some babies, or oftentimes, and we should talk about like people orphaning wildlife often, which is not what you're supposed to do. So I want to come back to that before we're done. But these volunteers and the staff will feed these babies like every 30 minutes, just like the adults would in the wild, right? And so like you think you got 150 animals, and like it's a constant like routine of like, okay, you've been fed, and so they move to the next one, you've been fed, and then back, and then you like start that all over again in like 30 minutes or whatever. And it's intense, and they do incredible work to allow these injured animals to repair the wounds and all that, and to raise some of these orphaned or injured young birds and wildlife. Because they also have, like, I've seen them with beavers and a porcupine.
Any rabbits and hares?
I don't recall.
Squirrels?
Definitely squirrels. Lots of squirrels.
Raccoons.
I've never seen raccoons there.
Okay.
Do we have raccoons around here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
They're not super common, but like we would see... when I used to work as the park naturalist at West Canada Centre, we would see raccoon prints in the mud along the creek and stuff, and along the marsh. So we certainly have them around, but they're not super common like they are in, say, like a Toronto, where like raccoons are going through your garbage every day. But there's certainly raccoons around the city in, shelter belts and farmyards and stuff like that.
What about coyotes? We have a lot of those, I think.
We do have a lot of those. Generally, I don't think they come in.
That'd make for an interesting, like, let the coyote loose with all the like baby birds.
Well, I mean, like, sometimes they've got, like, in one corner they've got the bald eagle, and then in the other corner they've got, like, pigeons. And so they do have prey animals and predators, but they keep them, like, they keep blankets over the cages so, like, they can't see each other and stuff. But, like, they got a lot of stuff.
They're saving pigeons.
Sometimes.
They're not taking in raccoons and coyotes, but they're saving pigeons? You know what they say about pigeons? Rats of the air.
Okay, let's talk about pigeons. I'm going to be the defender of pigeons here. Pigeons, for a very long time, there's been like some really interesting books on this, which I haven't read, but I've heard synopsises of, so I can speak confidently about this.
Okay.
But pigeons were very closely tied with human civilization for a very long time. Think of like
they've been vexing us for that
messenger pigeons.
Okay.
Right? And so like they legitimately would pass messages in the wars with pigeons, so they'd send them up to the front line and then send messages back. We used to keep pigeons for food, right? They weren't always considered these like gross rats, flying rats. Lots of people used to eat pigeon and then
squab,
100%. Yeah. And they would use the pigeon poop because in that, like, many years ago, before like there was so much contamination and pollution in the world, like if they would just be feeding them grain or whatever, and then they could use the poop in their garden and be like a great fertilizer to like grow food, vegetables and food with. So we've had like a great reliance on pigeons in relationship with pigeons for a very long time, and then only in the last 50 years have we like just villainized them. So I gotta tell you, I really have gone out on a limb for pigeons here, and I don't know if I've changed your mind. I do make comments when I go into Salthaven West, like, why are you saving this pigeon? But there you go.
They're like poops, fertilizer powers that makes them competition for our potash industry, and that's my main objection to the pigeon.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So I don't know if you knew this, but apparently this is a capital campaign that we're raising money for.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. So where is it here? It looks like they're going to be building a capital expansion. I'm not sure. When I start talking into a microphone, I lose the ability to read. You see.
Yes, they are. Yeah. So they're trying to actually get into a new facility.
Yeah. So I think that's what this is for.
I think the goal that they are raising, according to the brochure that I see on the table over here, is $700,000 for this whole facility. They have the land for it, and it's just a matter of like building up the Quonsets and facilities they need. And so, getting them out of their current spot.
So Megan can have her rec room back.
But like, just like the volume of animals that they're getting these days, it's like they make it work 100%. But a new facility that has like really nice, tables and a setup to allow for folks to bring in animals so they can to take them in and get all the information, because they actually work closely with the Ministry of Environment, so everything is nice. Like permitted, and they have to record where exactly the animals have come from and what was the issue and what they are. So that was a part of working with Salthaven West that I always did. Megan at the beginning would be like, what's this little colored bird here, this warbler? And I'd be like, oh, that's a common yellowthroat. And she'd be like, okay, I'm writing that down. So that's where I started with Megan years and years ago. So it's been really, really cool to watch them grow and bring on more staff and be able to have more capacity and do such important work, especially in a time conservation-wise, where lots of birds and wildlife are decreasing and declining a lot.
Yep.
And so if you can rehab an adult hawk with a broken wing and get them back out so they can, nest again or live for a few more years, I think that's worth it, right?
Cool. We're starting to run out of time here, so I did want to ask you, what are some tips as we are moving into animal season?
Yeah.
If you see an animal that you think might be injured or hurt or missing a parent, what should you do, and should you call Salthaven West?
Absolutely. So a lot of what happens in the spring and in the summer is baby birds are orphaned by well-meaning people, but they are orphaned. So a lot of birds, let's talk about American robins. American robins will actually leave the nest before they can fully fly. So they'll hop out of the nest and then be on the ground, camouflaging into some plants in the garden or under a tree. And the adults are going to be continuing to feed them. And so a lot of times people will see those little babies and be like, oh, they can't fly. It's been orphaned. Its mom's gone. I'm going to take it. And then they're like, now what do I do with this bird?
And they don't have eyes.
Yeah.
They're getting clawed up.
Exactly. So always the recommendation, if you think a bird is orphaned, is to stay back and just watch it. So they will continue to give what are called contact calls. They'll make little cheeps, and this is so that the adult can hear them and find them. And so the adult should come back usually within half an hour max, with food, with worms, with berries or whatever, and will come in chirping, and the baby will then chirp back, and then we'll come over and feed them. If the adult is feeding them, then leave them alone. Do not take them. They are fine. This is how that works. They leave the nest. You think from a predator standpoint, as a bird, if there's 4 baby robins in the nest and a predator comes along, cat, raccoon, hawk, whatever, and the babies are all in there, boom, all of the babies are dead. If they want to get out, they've evolved to get out of the nest as fast as they can. So if you have 4 babies and they're scattered out amongst the yard and one gets picked off by a hawk, you still have 3 other ones that are hidden in other spots, right? And so from an evolutionary standpoint, birds they want to spend the least amount of time they can in the nest.
Okay.
And so for a lot of birds, that means leaving the nest before they can fly. So most of the birds, if you notice a baby bird that is bloody, or if it has a wing that's kind of drooping and the other one doesn't look like it's drooping, then that bird is likely injured. That bird could be taken to Salthaven West. But if you're in doubt, I would say phone Salthaven West. They've got their number here. Their phone number is 639-999-4957. But you can also just go to salthaven.org. And they'll have all this information on there. And so give them a call and say, hey, here's the situation. I'm looking at this bird. I don't know if it's injured. I don't know if it's orphaned. Give me some advice. And they will be happy to give it. Do not just take the bird.
Right on.
And also, if I got time for this, don't take the bird and try and feed it yourself. Okay?
There's a lot of that going on.
Well, I mean, people have this nostalgic thing, I raised this robin and now I released it and every year it comes back, and chances are no, it doesn't, because adult robin only has a 50% chance of surviving 1 year. So it's got heads or tails, 50-50.
Darn.
It really is. Well, it's fascinating. This is how the number of robins that are produced in a year, the whole robin population generally turns over every 6 years.
Oh, my God.
Just because of, so many things eat them, have a high mortality rate. But, that's the volume of babies that they're producing each year. Some of them will have, 2 to 3 broods, nests, and however many babies, 3 to 4 babies usually in a nest. But yeah, so it's probably not the same one. But yeah, don't raise baby animals yourself. You are not a trained professional. Leave it to Salthaven West, because they do a really good job. And they've shown, like, I've seen photos from them of, like, you know, little squirrels that someone was, like, trying to give milk to, and, like, it came in, and they had one that they had gotten immediately. They were the same age, and the one that someone was trying to keep alive was, like, just skinny and, like, looked terrible, and the other one that was at the rehabbers from day one was, like, fat and plump and, like, thriving. So yeah, if you find just talk to Salthaven West, ask
Good
them
advice.
You know, they do great work, and I'm so pleased to be able to support them and help them with what they do, because it's really good, valuable stuff.
Right on. Okay, well, thanks for coming in, Jared.
Thank you.
Awesome having you.
I should have brought you the coffee in the end, but
this is probably for the best. It's late in the day. I want to be able to get to sleep tonight on my bed of dot matrix printer paper.
Maybe I'll come back in like 2 years, and if I can remember, and
finally fulfill that dream.
Right?
Yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, on that note, we're going to go to innovative revenue tools. And we're back from Innovative Revenue Tools. Jared Clarke has had to go. Thank you for coming, Jared. It's always awesome to have you here, even if you haven't ever gotten me that coffee. But I'm still here with the typical 18-year-old girl. I don't know, man. Like, you hear these stories about the nature that Jared tells, and people wonder why I don't ever leave the subbasement.
Oh, but if you're not going and climbing up trees and messing with nests, you can watch birds from a distance. It's very cool.
I could watch them on the internet.
I mean, you could.
There's TikTok.
You don't have TikTok. You barely have Wi-Fi.
I've been known to go on Usenet and download GIFs.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
More new words.
Ooh. So, well, thanks a lot for sticking around. And I just want to remind everybody that this is the replacement this year for Radiothon, CJTR, because we are now part of the AccessNow family. We don't need to do a radiothon to keep ourselves alive and the station from going under, keep the lights on. We now have supportive access. And so what we're doing is we're turning that fundraising energy and spirit to help out somebody else. And in this case, it's Salthaven West. And as we mentioned, we're raising money. These funds are going to be matched. And we're really close to our goal, which is $20,000. If we hit that goal, that's $20,000 from us, $20,000 extra that's being matched by a donor, and that's all going to go towards their capital campaign. And that's just awesome that CJTR is able to do that, Access is able to do that, and as Jared pointed out, this is an amazing organization doing great work. So. I guess when I mentioned that we were going to talk about City Hall next, Jared decided to leave.
I could not imagine why.
Oh, do you want to hear about City Hall?
Go right ahead.
Is that Gen Z sarcasm in your voice I'm detecting?
Oh, no, it's Gen X that's famous for sarcasm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that. So there's a couple of things that happened. Oh, sorry, what?
Says the man who still talks about point metrics paper.
Dot matrix.
Point metric.
Dot matrix printer paper. It was cutting edge technology.
Well, it's not.
Well, I don't know, man. When you see what you can do with a dot matrix printer, you'll be blown away. But anyways, I wanted to talk about City Hall.
Okay.
We had an executive committee meeting on April, what are we now? April 2nd? So April 1st. I thought it was an April Fool's. And it kind of was. We had a couple of big things that happened at the executive committee meeting this week. The first one was the emergency shelter engagement update.
Okay.
So you know how we're getting an emergency shelter on Halifax Street?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so that's going to be going into the old Eagles Club building.
Yeah.
And the deal there is that the neighbors kind of weren't super happy that an emergency shelter is moving into their neighborhood, which... so the history of this is that there was an attempt to put in an emergency shelter on Albert Street, but it would have been close to some residential. It was on a main road, and council rejected that location.
Okay.
So we got this new location on Halifax Street, which is an industrial neighborhood. So there's no residential very close to this. It's in the Heritage neighborhood. But still, the people who had businesses that were close to this, the location for this emergency shelter, were very not happy. So even though council had said we have to do this, we're going to be putting it through, they did say that we're going to have more of a consultation period for you guys. We're going to work with the community on the design of the shelter and sort of the mitigation efforts for this shelter, and hopefully we'll be able to make it successful. So this consultation has happened, and the people have come back, and there were several delegations to talk about what their experiences were, and they were still not super happy. But it was interesting to see how the response to the shelter has evolved. You have a lot more people coming out to say, look, we know the shelter is coming to our neighborhood. We want it to succeed, but we don't want it to succeed at the expense of our business.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're looking for some help from the city so that their businesses, because there's a lot of concerns about, people lingering, drug dealing, just all of those sort of stereotypical concerns about the homeless. They're worried they're going to be happening in this neighborhood with the shelter.
Yes.
They don't know that it's going to happen, but this is the fear when the shelter goes in.
What businesses are around that area? If it's industrial, what sort of... are they customer-based businesses, or are they, industry?
Right. So there are some industrial ones. Two of the key ones that were coming out to talk, one was a gas station.
Okay, yeah,
right?
I see that.
And the other one is, there's a pet grooming facility.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Right?
I do know them.
So if you're going to have, a customer business near a shelter, you would think... pets as your customer would be ideal, because they love everybody.
They do love everybody. Yeah. So it'd just be more people for them to hang out with.
Yeah, and they'd be pretty much untroubled.
Yeah, pretty much.
But the owners there apparently have invested a lot of money, and the building owners invested a lot of money in their building. So they're scared, basically.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that happened last year is that the council at the time had come up with this idea, basically on the floor of council, to offer compensation to businesses for any costs that they incur as a result of the shelter going into their neighborhood.
How do you identify what those costs are?
That is an excellent question.
Okay.
Yeah, because this was the thing that was raised by administration. It is going to be very difficult for administration to identify what costs, what graffiti, for instance, on a building, is the direct cause of the shelter in the neighborhood, or is just part of the usual graffiti that people get on their buildings, right?
Yeah, because nothing that's occurring wouldn't be occurring without the shelter, right? Maybe use too many negatives. Anything that happens is going to happen, whether or not you have the shelter. The shelter might increase the chances, or that might increase the frequency, but unless you have, really, really comprehensive statistics and data, you'll have no way to prove a change.
Exactly. Yeah, that's an excellent point. Yeah. And as a result, administration really didn't want to go the compensation route. And so in January... Council covered this report. So there's this report that comes every year, and it's basically just cross off all of the stuff that's on our to-do list. So all the stuff that we've done, cross it off. All the stuff that we can't do, cross it off. And all the stuff that we still have to do, highlight it in yellow, right?
Yeah.
And this report came forward, and one of the things that was on it was this compensation plan. And the mayor, brand new mayor, Paczynski, brought this amendment to that report to take the compensation off the program, off the project.
Yep.
So this is like one of those reports. This is a bookkeeping report, basically. It's very rarely paid attention to. I've never really read one of these in great detail because it usually just comes, gets passed, and it's gone. It's a very routine thing. But this year there was this change that came in. So the neighborhood, and I think correctly, felt that this was removed a little shiftily. Right, like they weren't warned that this was happening, and so when the next report came out on the emergency shelter and it didn't include the compensation plan, the residents were like, "Wait a second! Last year you said we were going to get this. Now you're saying you're not. How did this happen?" Sorry, go.
That's very fair. Saying you needs more consultation than just a council meeting with no notice.
Exactly. So
that's how you lose your funding.
So, in the end, it came back to council again, and the residents, and as a result, like this has become the overriding concern is this compensation plan. Like when residents come out to talk about the emergency shelter, this is the thing they're the most concerned about. Yeah, which is too bad because there's a lot of other stuff to talk about on this subject. The compensation plan is brought up a lot. So when the report came back this week, there was a request from one of the councillors, I think it was Sickless actually, and I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me. But it was to, because I know you want to quote me all the time. Yeah. Was to bring back the compensation program. So the report that's going to be going out will look into bringing back the they're going to call it a neighborhood maintenance compensation program, determine what the eligibility for it is, and develop requirements and parameters to support people with this program. So that report has gone back to administration, so now they have to develop this program. Administration has said that other cities would never do this. They do things called good neighbor programs, where they have like a committee that meets with residents on a regular basis, finds out what the problems are, increases security, reduces security if they need it, and just try to address concerns without giving money away in a more sort of formal sort of committee sort of structure. Like a neighborhood association.
Okay.
Yeah. But with a specific concern that they're going to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
And then we're still going to get that good neighbor program. So we're going to have this committee of residents, but we're also going to get this compensation program. Okay. Councillors Kidniak and Radons voted against this. They basically said they think this is not a great idea because, as administration said, it's almost impossible to know what damage, what problems are going to be related directly to the shelter.
Yep.
And also, personally, this wasn't raised at council, but my concern would be the precedent it sets.
Yeah.
And that is that any time you get a neighborhood that has a fourplex going in, or, a low-rise apartment building with, below market rental, these neighbors are going to look at this precedent and they're going to say, we want that too. We want a compensation program. For anything that goes wrong in our neighborhood after this, we want compensation. So I think it's a dangerous precedent to set, but we'll see because it looks like this is going forward.
Yeah. I'm really confused on how council plans to enforce this.
That's an excellent point. I don't know either. Yeah. And that's why we're waiting for the report.
Okay.
At this point.
Yeah. Yes. So if the report says it's not feasible, again, administration has said, will they change their mind or will they say find a way to make it feasible?
That is a good question. I'm not sure. It could be that administration is going to come back with a program that they think they can do, and council will go for it. It's also possible, though, that when the plan comes back for this compensation, that it will be such a huge sum of money that council will blanch. Because it's interesting, the people who were backing this the strongest are councillors like Sickless, Bezo, Rasevich, Burton, the people who came onto council with this, cut the costs, find the efficiencies agenda. They seem to be the ones who are let's throw money at this problem fairly often now.
Austerity for thee, but not for me.
Basically.
Love austerity.
Fun thing about this, they had a long agenda. they worked on this this compensation program and the results of this consultation from 9 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And they still had the rest of their agenda to get through. So I remember when they were like, yeah.
Shouldn't there be more planning that goes into something so a discussion doesn't take 5 hours for an item?
That's true. This is executive committee, though, where things are a little bit looser-gooser.
Yeah. Okay. I missed that part.
No, that's okay. But yeah, it was a lot of time. And it did mean because a lot of several, I can't remember which two had to go to the police commission meeting at 5. So they did have to actually they had to end before they got through their entire agenda. So any of these dreams about this new council being better at time management and getting through their agendas quickly, out the window. They're just as long-winded, just as, prone to, in this case, there was a lot of trying to work out the wording for the compensation plan amendment on the floor of council. A lot of going in circles on that.
All meetings I have ever attended, the agenda is not stuck to. It's almost like people's opinions change.
Is this some kind of passive-aggressive thing about how the Queen City Improvement Bureau conducts its business?
Yes, because you're a very well-run meeting who definitely follows proper procedure and all. Well,
actually, speaking of, we're on 91.3 FM CJTR, AccessNow Community Radio. This is the Queen City Improvement Bureau, and I have typical 18-year-old girl here today. It was like the cavalcade of QCIB secondary characters today. We had Sharrod Claerge, our intern, and now the typical 18-year-old girl. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of things taking longer than expected, this emergency shelter thing ended up taking up way more time in this meeting than it was supposed to. So I'm going to skip ahead. And we're going to refer some of these items to the next meeting. Because I wanted to talk, because you're an 18-year-old.
Yes, I am.
So there is a federal election coming up.
Yep.
So this will be the first one you voted in? I'm assuming you're going to vote?
Yes, I will. It is the first federal election I'll be voting in, yeah.
You excited?
Yeah, pretty excited.
Right on. So, what I wanted to talk to you about, because this is something that actually has a very strong municipal component to it, is we're starting to get an idea of what the housing plans are that the political parties are pitching. And I wanted to take a look at them because there's interesting stuff and it's things to watch out for if you care about municipal affairs.
Yeah.
And I wanted to start with the Liberal Housing Plan because they actually released a 2-pager outlining the policy they're going to implement. And I personally, spoilers, I really like this. And this is not an endorsement of a party in any way. This is 100% just a policy came out that is so much better than I thought we would be hearing about this election. And if this goes through, it will have massive repercussions for the City of Regina and all cities across the country. So the Liberal plan, they're actually talking about it in terms like it's the Second World War again. And that this is the housing plan that Mackenzie King put in, where they built thousands of houses after the Second World War. Yeah. And so their housing plan is to double Canada's current rate of residential construction over the next decade, reach 500,000 homes per year minimum. And so to do this, they're going to be starting a new entity called Build Canada Homes that will actually act as a developer to build affordable housing, even on federal public lands. And they're going to develop and manage projects and partner with builders for the construction phase. And then this is the one that I actually this was on my wish list for this election, provide $10 billion in low-cost financing and capital to affordable home builders. $4 billion are going to go towards long-term fixed-rate financing for affordable housing builders. $6 billion are going to go towards rapidly building deeply affordable housing, supportive housing, Indigenous housing, and shelters. And there's also going to be $2 billion of that's going to be directed towards seniors and student housing. So this is actual money going into building homes, and they've made a commitment to be a builder themselves, which is we have not, like, the federal government has not built housing since the 80s, I think it was.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I have been getting ads on social media for this platform.
Really?
Yes. I don't listen to them, but I've been getting Mark Carney coming up on my feed saying, Canada, we can build it better and stuff like that.
Right.
Or we can make Canada build again. That
Cool.
sort of thing.
Okay.
Not quite as catchy as that.
Sure.
Otherwise, I might watch the ads.
Okay. Okay, the other things that are on here, they're going to cut red tape, blah, blah, blah. Getting rid of... Okay, this is the one that I don't know how they're going to do, and this is the one that I'm highly skeptical on. Cutting municipal development charges in half for multi-unit residential housing. Work with provinces and territories to make up lost revenue for a period of 5 years. And I don't know what power they're going to use to get municipalities to cut their development charges, and I don't know how they're going to recoup those costs. A development charge is whenever a developer goes into a neighborhood to build something. They build things like water infrastructure and sewage infrastructure and roads, and all of this stuff gets gifted to the city to maintain for its lifespan. So they build it and they'll leave it there, and the city has to run it. So there are development charges to cover the cost of that infrastructure, and just like all the other setup and stuff that's needed in a new neighborhood, it makes up a lot of revenue for the city. And so to get that cut in half would be a serious hit to the municipalities, which have had so many costs downloaded onto them, including housing, which used to be a federal thing, then was a provincial thing, and now is more and more becoming a municipal concern.
Yeah.
So how they do this, what power they're going to have, because they don't have direct control over cities. They're a provincial concern, not a federal one. They're also talking about building on the success of the Housing Accelerator Fund, which, I've heard a lot of stuff from another party saying that the Housing Accelerator Fund is like bureaucratic and a big failure. All I know is this fund, by dangling money in front of cities' faces, they have gotten cities all across the country to modernize their zoning codes so that housing can start to happen that has been held up by generations of nonsense zoning codes and over-restrictive zoning codes. And so it's a huge success as far as I'm concerned. So beefing it up, I think that's awesome. The other thing is that they're talking about, in their list of other stuff, they want to speed up approvals by allowing, by having like pre-approved designs that already have like all of the approvals. So if you want to build one of these houses, say a fourplex on the list, you can just go with it. The CMHC recently put out a list of housing designs that they had worked with local developers. And so there's like, if you go to the CMHC, Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, if you go to their website, you can see their housing designs that they have for each zone of the country.
Yeah. Is there a reason they're different, or like is it?
Oh, zones. Yeah.
Does it take into account the like varying climate?
Yes. You take a look at the houses that they have planned for the north, right, for the territories, versus the south. Totally different designs, and you can see why. Also, there's other issues with like zoning and building codes that are specific to the regions, and so they were accommodating that.
Okay.
At least that's what I've heard.
That makes sense.
All right. So I want to make sure that I get in another housing plan before we run out of time, and this one will be the conservative housing plan. Again, spoilers, I'm not a huge fan of this.
Yep.
But the big thing, well, first of all, finding platforms for political parties is a shockingly difficult thing, even though this is like the shortest election in the history of recent history anyways, and it's the shortest election allowed by law at 36, I don't know what it is. It can't be 36 days. But anyways, it's like 5-6 weeks or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Why do I know weeks. Stuff about the city, not about
That's 37 weeks.
Okay.
Right?
37 days.
Days.
We're really
37 days.
Impressing people with our math skills. Anyways, the election is on April 28th. It's dang soon. You would think there would be more information to go on, and it's hard to find. And it's not like these parties didn't know there was an election coming up in 2025, but here it is. The Conservative plan, I couldn't find it on their website, like a link to their housing plan. I have found a few announcements from Pierre Poilievre. The big one is the whole idea of axing the federal sales tax. Now, this is also in the Liberal plan. The Conservatives, they originally were the first ones to come out with this. Federal sales tax on any new homes up to $1.3 million. I think it's first-time buyers. No, it's not. So the Liberal plan is first-time home buyers up to $1 million. It looks like here it's axing the federal sales tax on new home purchases of up to $1.3 million.
Okay.
Sorry, go.
Can you combine those? If you're a first-time home buyer buying a new home, would you get $2.3 million off?
No, because only one of these parties is getting into power.
Oh, I thought these were two promises from one party, and then there were promises.
No. Sorry, okay. One was there's a plan from the Liberals which is cut GST on first-time home buyers up to $1 million. The Conservatives are saying, as far as I can tell from my notes, axe the GST on new homes up to $1.3 million. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer, unless I'm wrong about that. Is
a very interesting policy.
Why?
Because new homes, even if you get a lot of money off, aren't as affordable because they tend to be built in further locations where you need to have a car because the public transit hasn't yet been developed in that area.
All true facts. Hey.
Yes.
There's so much more to say on this.
There always is.
But we've run out of time in which to say it. So I will just make this promise that we will come back to the Conservative housing plan. The key plank, though, was this GST cut on new homes, but there is a lot more. And the NDP also have a plan that I'll come back to. I'm meh on the NDP plan, but we'll talk about it another time in another meeting. But, yeah. I need you to make a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion to adjourn?
I second that motion. And then you're going to have to read the outro.
You have been listening to the Queen City Improvement Bureau on 91.3 FM CJTR, AccessNow Community Radio. Your hosts have been Paul Deshane and the typical 18-year-old girl. Huge thanks to our guest Sharrod Claerge, a.k.a. Jared Clarke, our former host of the Prairie Naturalist, now MLA for the Regina Walsh Acres. Also thanks to Ryan Hill for our theme music. You can find more of Ryan's work at guidewire.bandcamp.com. The QCIB airs every Thursday at 7 p.m. and is rebroadcast at 3 p.m. on Mondays. Find us on our website, QueenCityIB.com, where we've archived all of our previous meetings. You can also find Paul and Aidan on Blue Sky. Coming up is Record Room, followed by Rhythm and Vibes, and the music all on throughout the night. Keep on improving, Regina.
Perfect.